Of the wonderful Akamaru as usual. What's up, Aka? How you
Hello, hello
doing?
everyone. I'm super excited to be back. I'm glad we got back this week. There's a lot of exciting stuff to do and talk about.
Yeah, we weren't here last week, and in the week we were gone, there was some stuff that got some pretty fun information that came out. We know that there's a new expansion coming out called Daybreak Night Edge.
It was so fun actually because on Wednesday we decided not to have the weekly podcast because there was not a lot of information coming up. But the next morning I was waking up. I'm like, I see the trailer. I'm like, oh my god, I wish Shadowcast was on Thursday. Like I think it was on Thursday or Friday. I know it was like right after we decided not to have the episode. I was like, oh, I'm so excited to talk to Zero, but
Yeah,
I gotta hold it inside, and I held it for a week. It was hard. It was hard.
yeah, I was really excited, and then as the week went on, there were just more and more cool cards that just like I want to talk about more and more. So let's stop. I don't want to tease you too much about that. We're gonna get into that soon. But before we get into that, just wanted to mention the Dextravaganza is this weekend. Do you know what day it is, Akamaru? If
It
it's
is
on
9th of March, I believe, if I'm not wrong. The last time I checked it, it was basically this weekend, so you shouldn't miss it out. It's pretty obvious.
I don't know everyone who's gonna be in it. I know Wonder Melody's got invited. There's a bunch of people who do streaming and stuff being invited to this. It was fun. The last one was fun, so I'm looking forward to this one.
You were on the last one, so you have inside experience of how it was, and you helped some monkeys. So, what
hmm
do you think?
And
Curious question. What do you think our players are going for in terms of charities? Do you think they're going for a specific cause or just I don't know, just average?
last time, a lot of people chose like some pretty notable charity, not notable, but like some pretty important charities. I thought like a lot of ones involving like human intelligence overall.
Mhm.
Um, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, most of them went for animals or knowledge. Yeah, knowledge and
hmm
teaching and helping students and kids. So that's cool.
Yeah. So looking forward to that. Um, Also another thing to point out or to note is if you guys are interested, there is a petition for you guys to sign for just helping out Shadowverse tournaments. I guess we're trying to get a petition for Games to have more tournaments posted in the in-game client so people know about them and know when they are and when they can watch them too.
Yeah, I know this is a major feature in a lot of games that I play. I'm a very competitive player. I play League of Legends and Gwent. I actually played Gwent a lot, and they featured their major tournaments inside the game client. So I, as a player, love to see the top class of like the top competitive level of the game, so I know what can I strive for, right? What can I achieve? Am I playing this game wrong? And I still remember, I was very young. I still remember the first time I saw my first ever League of Legends tournament. I'm like, they are playing a complete different game than I am. I was still like level 27, and it was so exciting to see all that, all the meta shifting the game. Like, I think that a lot of players don't even realize what a meta is, what kind of decks people are supposed to be playing, and so on. I think it's very exciting.
I remember when I first saw competitive Heimerdinger play, I was blown away.
Exactly, and because I come from a time where season one, like it was very underground. The way to actually watch, there was not even Twitch. Twitch wasn't a big thing at the moment. It was Hotspot or HotGG or something. I don't remember the name or Own TV. It was something really underground. You'd have to look on Reddit, look on their website. Like people will tell you, oh, there's a tournament going on, and I still remember those times, and it was super exciting. So I think Shadowverse is at that time. It's the competitive scene is very underground. We have millions and millions of players playing daily, and they have no idea what's going on. So I think it's exciting, and we need that boost. I think.
Yeah, so hopefully something like this petition will help us out and will help competitive Shadowverse grow. And other than that, let's get on to the fun stuff, the important stuff, the things that everyone came here for. We got spoilers, Aka. We got a lot of
Oh,
spoilers.
we got freshly baked new
Y-
cards. I mean, no, we're not. Okay, we're not in the
These
level of releasing new cards yet. Side games, come on, give us a new card to reveal. But we got freshly baked cards.
these ones they're not exactly hot off the grill, but these are like nice and warm off the griddle. So, first one that we can talk about is I think the card almost everyone is most excited for. Right off the bat, they announced Vania Nightshade Vampire.
Boom. I love the way you said right at the bat.
Oh, that
Nice,
was
but it
completely
was
unintentional.
unintended. I realized that. I noticed that.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Um, yeah, it's Vania. I just want to point out, or just want to say, just like everyone, I'm super excited that they put Vania back in standard. I think everyone loves Vania. There are very few people who don't love Vania, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you. You might need to like get yourself psychologically checked out.
When I saw the leak of Vania, I was so sad and happy at the same time. I was so sad that it wasn't Cygames that was announcing it. It was a leak, but at the same time I was so excited. And I'm like, nice, Psy Games. That is exactly how you want to do it. I know they had a lot of backlash when Vania rotated, and there was no replacement for Vania. She's one of the iconic. She was one of the iconic characters, but they saved it and they released this such a good card. It's revealing the Neo mechanic. It was actually the first ever card that they revealed with the choose, and I know this is exactly what you want to do. They give it the legendary status. They give it the Vengeance class mechanic. They gave her the choose mechanic. She's so good. I hope she's not too good that she deserves a nerf because I want to see Vengeance pop up again. But she's so good.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know, Vania is a 6 play point 3/6. And when you play her, she's got this new mechanic that when you play this card from your hands, you get to pick one of two cards. So you can pick either Blood Queen Vania or Kind Queen Vania. And you get a different effect based off of which Vania you choose.
Yeah, like right off the bat, I gotta say this is my favorite card of the set. I mean, I gotta be very surprised by Sega Games to get this special feeling because I'm used to Vania. I she's in the game for so long that she's like Goku, right? Or Gohan. She has the status of main character, and we get the special legendary status. And I think it's brilliantly done by Sega Games. And I hope to see about not a new Bahamut this expansion. I see the chat talking about it, but maybe they save it for the next expansion, just like they did with Vania. I think the expectations, playing with expectations, is what I wanted. I wanna get out of side games and Shadowverse.
All right. So I want to take Vania from the top just for the listeners who don't fully know what Vania will do. So Vania is a 6 play point 3/6 and says if you have at least 6 play points and Vengeance is active for you, choose one. Play this card as either Kind Queen Vania or Blood Queen Vania. And then on top of that, you also get Fanfare, deal 2 damage to both leaders, and then summon a Forest Bat.
Yeah. This is the translation in their site. I saw someone say that she deals 3 damage to each leader, but I can't confirm that.
I'm gonna go with she does 2 damage because that's what this card says.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh, you're
and
right. Oh
then
yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
And now the two sides of the Vanias, there's Blood Queen Vania, and Blood Queen Vania has Storm, and then has Fanfare summon a Forest Bat, so you get the one bat no matter what. And then whenever an allied Forest Bat comes into play, give it Bane. So you get a nice Storm unit that can go face, and you also get a nice Bane unit that can help protect something or remove something scary off the board. Or the Kind Queen Vania will have Drain and have Fanfare summon a Forest Bat, and whenever an allied Forest Bat comes to play, give it Ward. So this is a more defensive Vania.
I love it. We were talking about it a couple of weeks ago or months ago, I guess, when you were telling us that Vengeance just seems very straightforward. You need to be very aggressive once you're in Vengeance. Well, this just gives you options to be defensive. Reminds me of Alucard. That was a card that was supposedly to play when you were in Vengeance to defend yourself, but it wasn't seen too much because it was a 4/4 for 7 play points, very expensive. That's just a nice addition to that Vengeance archetype, the one that neatly, nicely balances the threat of being in Vengeance, not a Vengeance, and I love it. I want to play with it as soon as the expansion hits.
It seems to me like a pretty strong card. I'm pretty excited for it. So Another card that we also got is Galua of Two Breaths. So Galua of Two Breaths is a 5 play point 4/4, and this is for Dragon. And it's got Fanfare. Choose. Put either a white breath or a black breath into your hand.
Again, more choices, more options. Thank you, side games. I'm so excited. I just want flexibility out of all the cards. If you could make all the cards being choose, I'd be ecstatic. But I know you can't. So
So the two breaths that you get are pretty strong. So the black breath is a 4 play point spell with destroy an enemy follower or amulet. And then the white breath is a 2 play point, just draw two cards. Those are both like pretty under costed for what they do.
yeah. Also, this is an interesting card. I don't think Dragon has a lot of valuable 5 play points. I don't think outside of Sybil. So mid range Dragon was also always a dream of me that I had of building a mid range Dragon. This just gives that flexibility and that nice option of having something different than Sybil. You don't need to always be playing the Sybil or only having the Sybil in your deck. It's just a nice option.
I think I feel like this card is just so flexible with what it does. It gives you just two pretty relevant spells and it's on a pretty nicely statted body.
Yeah, the main thing about this mechanic is that it works on the early game and it works in the late game. You can choose whichever option you want. It reminds me of an enhance effect, but this is an enhance effect that is completely on your action. It is completely based on your decision. You don't need to play around with your play points to make sure you get the effect you want.
I also think the art on the breaths really nice.
Mhm.
I like this card.
Yeah, also some hidden thing that I don't know if a lot of people picked up, but side games didn't nerf tilting at the windmills, or they didn't nerf anything at all, but they printed cards that specifically fight against those effects, right? We get to destroy amulets. We are getting effects that deal with amulets, something that we didn't have before. So maybe they're changing their design philosophy in terms of next set we will fix what's broken in the previous set, rather than completely be to change the cards every single week or every single month. Maybe we give players more options, which is a design philosophy that I'm a fan of. I like giving me extra points by deck building, by building for checking for the correct meta. I like that.
Well, yeah, I think that's gonna be. I completely lost my train of thought, and I apologize for that. You said,
I said that they're building new cards that specifically fight what we thought was overpowered on the previous set. I know that I don't want to talk about much about it, but I know Wizards of the
mhm.
Coast have that policy. They usually print cards that fight very strong cards from the previous sets. So this feels to me like that they're trying to fight tilting at the windmills rather than nerfing the card, making it unplayable. Maybe give you more options, more tech choices, right?
I remember what I was gonna say. Before that, you had said that they hadn't nerfed tilting at the windmills yet, and I actually believe nerfs are gonna be coming out tomorrow too, right?
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they go ahead with it, if they change nerf cards, or if they actually go and here's more options. Just try and build around it.
Yeah, it's. I got no idea. They really threw a curveball at us last time where they didn't nerf anything. So, do you want to move on to this next card, or do you want to keep talking about Galua?
No,
I think.
yeah, I think we touched every single aspect of it.
Mhm. So we got Dark Feast Bat as the next card. Now this is the other Bloodcraft legendary. So we had Vania and Dark Feast Bat. So we got them both announced like really quickly. So Dark Feast Bat is a 7 play point 5/5 with Fanfare. Deal X damage to an enemy. X equals the number of times that your leader was damaged throughout your turn in this match.
Yeah,
And
this
I,
feels like Spawn of the Abyss stat in terms of it's hard to evaluate if it's good or not. We thought Spawn of the Abyss was clunky and it was meant for control decks. A lot of people were talking about this being a control choice, a finisher, but it's very hard to evaluate when you don't have all the cards together and you realize how much damage can I do to myself, right?
Yeah, so I look at this card, and the first card that I think of, like similarly, is Chimera.
Hmm.
And because for this one you need to damage yourself, for Chimera you need to spell boost. But to me, Chimera just on its face looks way stronger than this thing.
It also makes sense, an effect like this makes sense to be printed on a 10 play point card because you need to set it up a lot, right? You don't want to be playing this on curve. You don't want to be playing this on 7 play points. At most, you'll deal very low amounts of damage. So this is something you want to set up for. And being the 7 play point doesn't make too much sense to me. I mean, I don't see a lot of stuff you can do in Bloodcraft that has impact. All I see is like a Savage Wolf together with it on 10 play points, maybe, to get that extra reach damage. But this is a card that excites me because it's one of those Nephthys cards. I call it Nephthys cards, where you need to build your deck towards it. It also synergizes really well with Jormungand, which makes me excited as well. Like, I want to see more effects like this. Blood card, they're trying to make Blood card go in a different direction rather than the full aggressive Vengeance or the full control style. They want to make it more like a mid range or more like a combo deck. We have never seen a Vengeance combo deck. This could be the first time we see a combo Vengeance deck, which is excites me a lot.
This card, it does get better with like something like Noct as well. That's a card that we don't see play at all right now. But maybe the fact that that damages you
Exactly.
quite a bit might make that a little better.
We
I'm skeptical about this one
I think
because I imagine like by turn 7, this thing is going to be at like 4 or 5 points, and that's like on a good day. I feel like.
yeah, that's my feeling. I don't think this will be played on 7 too much. So I think people will hold it. They'll play like the giant chimera. They'll set it up to be a finisher to kill your opponent right on the spot. Because investing 7 play points for a 5/5 is with no impact on the board is very dangerous.
You know, I've read this card over multiple times already, and I didn't realize this said enemy. This can hit the leader.
Oh yeah, it is. It is.
I thought this could only hit
Oh
followers.
no, no,
Okay,
no.
that
Yeah,
really changes
yeah,
this card in my mind.
yeah. Exactly. That's why I think it's a finisher. Most people will try to set it up, build it up. We'll see decks that will probably kill themselves really fast before they actually get to play the 7 play point card. Because what people do on the beginning of the expansion, they like go full on the combo, right? They go full
Hmm.
on, and they'll be killing themselves before turn 7. But once the deck gets refined, I imagine I'll see on Twitter a video of Nact into Jormungand into this one. That would be really exciting.
That would be cool. That's a lot of damage, a lot of AoE damage, just damage being thrown around left and right.
Yeah, because you gotta remind yourselves that Nact effect is permanent. So Nact is played on the 5, and then you play Jormungand. Your opponent is obviously gonna kill Jormungand, so you're going to get 3 extra damage out of Nact with the Jormungand proc, and then you get 2 extra damage just from the Nact. So if you get extra, well, we'll talk about the next card, maybe possibly, since we're talking about blood. But if you get extra damage to yourself with very exciting cards, we will see.
Yeah, and so another card that was just subtly hinted at by Akamaru is Gift for Bloodkin. This was another card that was just spoiled, and I want to just go out there, just make a bold claim. This is easily the cutest card in all of Shadowverse in the game. This is 0 play points, Gift for Bloodkin. It's a spell. It deals 1 damage to both leaders, and then it summons a forest bat for both
It's so
leaders.
cute. It's the flavor of the card is brilliant. Like you're giving a present to your opponent, and it's like Vania handing out this art is the most cutest, amazing thing. I want to play Gift for Bloodkin and then play my Vania because that's a very strong synergy. You're buffing your bat when you play the Queen Vania, the queen that we talked about
Hmm.
before. So it's like I'm giving you this present, but it might be poisoned. I might be killing you right now. So cute.
So this card has a lot of synergies with just a lot of stuff. So it's got synergy with what's the name of that? It's a 1/5 for 3 right now.
Lilith.
That doesn't Yeah, and she doesn't see too much play, and she gives you a play point whenever you take damage on your turn, right?
She was the most exciting card for me last expansion. I was a big fan of Blood. Unfortunately, I forgot rotation happened and that all the good damage yourself cards went out of rotation. But now I see interesting effects. So yeah, it's an endearing succubus Lilith. I think that's the name.
Yeah, so and if you actually have that on the field already, and then you play this Gift of the Bloodkin, that Lilith will trade nicely into the Forest Bat.
And you also get the extra one play point. And
Mm-hmm.
this is why, to me, this feels like a combo deck, right? Whenever you see zero play points on a card, think about combo. Like, you're enabling more plays, more cards being synergizing in the same turn. You can surprise your opponent. You can play 3 gift for Bloodkins and a Forest Bat, and you'll get 6 damage out of nowhere, and your opponent will not expect it.
And then you can raise reclaw your opponent 3 times as well. And they'll never see it
But
coming.
it's true, right? People were like, nowadays you think about maybe 6 damage out of Razor Claws, but this enables a lot of damage together with the bat or Jormungand. If you get a Jormungand active, like this is gonna buff Jormungand very highly because back then you didn't have it was very expensive to get Jormungand effects, but now it's like you can play Jormungand, you can evolve it, and then you can start chaining and give for Bloodkins. It's really interesting. This could be like an angelic barrage, right? For because Jormungand kills the bat as well. The Jormungand proc out of Gift for Bloodkin
Mhm.
kills the bat. So this could be like an angelic barrage together with summon a 1/1. It's so exciting.
Yeah, I think this can just allow for some really strong things. And who knows, they might even print more synergy or just even like being able to use this on the same turn that you're going to use your Dark Feast bat. That's 0 mana, do 2 damage,
Exactly,
basically.
exactly.
So this to me, it seems like it's doing some pretty interesting and some pretty strong things, and I'm looking forward to that.
I'm super
So,
excited for Blood.
is there a card you want to talk about next?
I want to talk about Forest. I know we both. I mean, we both very excited. We're big fans of Forest, but I think we're gonna start with the least exciting of them all. I think we can slowly build hype. What do you think about? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Nelsha? It's spelled Nelsha, right? What's the
I
spell?
was thinking Nelka,
Nelka.
fashionista,
Nelka.
Nelka,
Thank you.
Nelsha. I have no idea. You could be right and I could be wrong, so don't be thanking
So
me.
Nelka. I was like Nelcha, because in my country C and H is spelled sh Nelcha, but you might be right. So, do you want to introduce to us what Mr. Fashionish Nelcha does? I know she gives you two very interesting effects.
Yeah, so Miss Fastnisha Nelcha gives you fanfare. Choose put either an angel's dress or a demon's dress into your hand, and she happens to be a 4 play point 3/4 with a full evolve. So she evolves into the 5/6. We're seeing more and more cards being able to do the full 3/4 into 5/6 now.
Which is, let me tell you, it's a perfect stat line. We had cards like Elven Princess Mage. She was just a 4/5 when you evolve her, and she had a really cool effect. We're seeing Forest having really strong 4 play points. We saw Ariana. It was Ariana, right? She gave
Yeah, she was a
she
3/3
was
and turned
a
into a 5/5.
5/5. We saw Arya, of course, but now we get to see the 3/4. 3/4 is my favorite stat for a 4 play point with an effect. To me, is my favorite stat. 5/6 is very strong. Trades into all the 2 drops for free. Trades into all the 3/3s, right, for free if they evolve it. So it's one of my favorite stat lines. It's at the time of the game where you want to evolve and you want a 2-for-1, and she also gives you very special spells. They are very strong.
So what she gives you is she can give you either an angel's dress or a demon's dress. These are both 1 play point spells. The angel's dress will give +1/+1 to an allied follower, and the demon's dress will change an enemy follower's defense to
And
1.
that's the one I'm excited for.
Now, what I think what's the name of the card? It's been a
Bloodkin's Curse.
wood
Woodkin's
no
Curse.
yeah, but there's a 3-drop
I know
spirit.
what you're talking about.
It's like Woodkin spirit or Woodkin elemental or
It's
something. It's
Spirit.
a 3 mana 3/2. And that card put a Woodkin Curse, which had the same effect, change an enemy follower's defense to 1. And that card never saw play. And I think part of the reason for that was that is, while it being a strong effect, it is very non-flexible, and it won't help you push an advantage if your opponent isn't playing any followers. And Angel's Dress you have the option between picking between the Angel's Dress, which can give you tempo, or the Demon's Dress, which can remove something powerful.
You've stolen my words. Exactly, you're exactly correct. Choice matters now. Options. Give me the options to be proactive and reactive. I don't want to be forced to be playing a defensive game against control decks or against combo decks. I want to have different game plans. I'm tired of having to be, oh, I'm playing Dimension Shift against Aven Aegis. Okay, I guess I win. Or the opposite. I want my Aegis, my Aven lists to have different options. I can be defensive, I can be aggressive, I can be proactive, I can be reactive, I can heal. We'll see some cards like that. I can heal, I can deal damage. This is the perfect example. Like, Woodkin Curse is amazing. The reason why we don't see Woodkin Curse being played is for two reasons. First, you're spending a card to put something into one health, so you still need to trade something else into it. So you're two for one-ing yourself. Well, you mentioned the follower, that's a good one, but it's too slow. You need to play it. Your opponent cannot, maybe doesn't trade into it. You need to trade into it, and then you play the Woodkin Curse. You're still spending mana with it. So this one is just being proactive. You're on the play. You wanna make a tempo play. You want your fairy to kill their evolved follower, or you want your brambles to completely. You can evolve a 5/6. You have a brambles active, which is very common, and you play the
Mm-hmm.
curse, and you just get a 5/6. That's very hard to deal with, which is technically a 6/6 with your brambles. It's just perfect to me.
Yeah, I there's been a lot of four drops for Forest coming out lately. I feel like a lot of them always look like pretty impressive. Some of them look a little less impressive than others. But I think Fashionista Nelka, she seems promising to me. Like I feel like she might be a pretty strong card.
We all know that +1/+1 on Forest is, I believe it's the strongest of all the classes to get +1/+1 is Forest, just because you have inherently have tokens, right? Not all the classes have access to cheap followers. Forest just has that when you play Shadowverse.
And she's also giving you cheap ways to fill your hand and cheap ways to cast spells,
Oh yeah,
to
exactly.
cast relevant
Which is
effects.
relevant for both mechanics. Exactly.
Hmm. So, continuing this Forestcraft hype train, we have Yggdrasil, and Yggdrasil is a forest legendary. It's a 7 play point 2/6 with Drain and Fanfare. Add either a Mother's Protection or a Nature's Wrath to your hand. Now, Mother's Protection is a 0 play point legendary spell with draw 2 cards and enhance at 2. Draw 2 cards and add +2 to the number of cards that were played this turn. Nature's Wrath is a 0 play point legendary spell with give an allied follower +1 attack and 0 defense and rush. Or enhance 4, give them all storm instead.
There's so many effects with this card. It's so exciting. It's just although okay, I gotta say this. Last week I said side games do not give us cards with the this big packet, this big of a package. I think we're gonna see a lot of backlash, but just let's just rejoice and enjoy the first week of having all these random effects. I'm just gonna be playing Shadowverse, and my player's gonna play a card, my opponent's gonna play a card, and like I'm just gonna be like, what happened? Like back then, you could go to the bathroom, take a sandwich, and then you get back, and then just by looking at the board state, you know exactly what happened. But now it's like, wait, how is my opponent having 5/2/2 fairies attacking my face? What just happened? What's going on? It's so exciting.
I think Yggdrasil is awesome for a couple reasons. One, I just think it's awesome that we have the world tree in Shadowverse. Like I always say that one of my favorite things about Shadowverse is how much like real world lore we have in it, and Yggdrasil is no exception.
Yeah,
And I just think this is a strong card. I think it's nice that she's not the strongest body, but if you evolve her, she is a 4/8 with Drain. She can heal you up in a pinch. She gives Forrest more ways to just like stall out a game, and she has like a built-in, she is a win condition herself, because if you were to have board of fairies and then play it doesn't even have to be fairies. It could be fairies and 2 drops or fairies and 3 drops. As long as you have enough play points to play that enhance 4, it takes whatever you have on the field, gives it 1 extra attack, and lets it have storm. So you can just go face with it and end the game.
I I I gotta admit, like I'm super excited for Forest, and I'm so happy I see a replacement for Elf Queen, because Elf Queen seemed very outdated, even though she's not very ancient. She just doesn't feel very strong. She's very straightforward. You still need to play it because you need to heal, but Yggdrasil is just again. We mentioned this before. I want to play Control Forest, but in some matchups I want to be proactive. Yggdrasil, perfect card. She's healing me, and she's healing me and she's giving rush when I need to be defensive, or storm, I guess, when I need to be proactive. It's
Or cards when you need
exactly
cards.
if I want to be playing stalling like you mentioned. If I want to stall and be controlling, I want to draw cards, or I want to add +2 to my combo meter. Or if I want to be defensive, I want to be, or if I want to be defensive, I can evolve and drain, or I don't even need to drain. I can just hold my evos, and she curves really nicely into Aryan as well. She's a massive body. Trust me, she's very hard to kill. If you're an aggro player, if you're playing against aggro decks, she's very hard to kill. There's no dance of that in the format. Most decks do not have art removal, and you must kill this card. She's very good.
Um, I want to just like what I like about this is I feel like one thing that Forest I in a strange way has always missed was like really solid cheap draw, and this card gives you just 0 mana draw 2 cards, which I think is great.
Mhm. Even 2 mana draw 2 cards. That was Glimmering Wings, but you had to work a lot to get that, and this is just 2 mana, 2 play point, draw 2, and you get +2 on your combo if you need that, and unlimited maybe with Roach. And drawing extra cards, you could be drawing your Roaches. It's also a 0 play point spell, right? Or most of the times it will be a 2 play point spell, but this is very impactful. You can play Yggdrasil and play the spell on turn 7. It's quite good.
So I think we talked a good amount about Yggdrasil. I don't think there are any other Forest cards that got spoiled yet, right?
Not so far. No.
So let's talk about this one. This one's kind of a boring one. This one's a Runecraft card. It's called Staff of Whirlwinds. And Staff of Whirlwinds is a 5 play point spell with deal 3 damage to an enemy follower, then deal 1 damage to all enemies.
I'm gonna
So
say I'm glad it's boring. I'm tired. I'm exhausted of seeing so much rune. Getting bored of it, honestly.
so I don't think this card's that bad though. I think there might be like a world where the Mysteria deck is a real deck. And if it is, this says deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. If you have Mysteria online, it deals 4 damage to a single enemy follower. Then it does 2 damage to all enemies, or it does 1 damage if you don't have the Mysteria online. And that says all enemies, so it also hits the face too.
What it doesn't excite me is that there's so many 5 play points nowadays for 5 play point spells for rune nowadays. It just feels like it's another option that you maybe didn't need. You had chain lightning, you had the like what's that what other one that costs 5 play points? Maybe I'm mistaking something, but
Hmm.
it just feels to me when I saw this card, I'm like I've seen this before, right? It feels the same as I know there's a card. I think it's first curse or second curse. Yeah, there's a 5 play point that is basically the same thing. It deals 5 damage, I think, to a follower. So it to me it feels like I've seen this before. I've seen this effect before. It doesn't have a choice mechanic, which I mean now I'm all everything that excites me is stuff that has choice. This just feels like I've seen this card before. This could be printed. If this was printed in all the other sets, you wouldn't even be. Oh, this is new. This is exciting.
I'm pretty unexcited about this card. I think like if it's got any way to see play somewhere, it's the Mysteria deck. Like maybe like something with some crazy Mysteria into Oz, like on this, or like you do Oz as you have Mysteria online. You cast your Staff of Whirlwinds for real cheap. You cast like a Chain Lightning. You cast some Piercing Runes, something like
That's
that.
also something that scares me a lot. The more Games prints expensive spells, the more they force you to play Oz to be relevant. And Oz is not a world that I want to be in. We talked about it before, not going to waste time on it today, but I don't want to be in a world where Oz is needed in every single rune deck. So, also, this Mysterious is also 5 play points, which is kind of weird. You don't want to play this on 5 because you want to set up your Mysterious, but then you're flooding mana play points because Rune doesn't have a lot of cheap spells. There's no angelic snipes, no angelic uh no angelic barrages, which is kind of okay for Mysteria as well. So
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see about that one. So another one, kind of similar. This is a Dragoncraft card called Force of the Dragonute. Now, Force of the Dragonute is a 3 play point gold spell with deal 1 damage to all enemies and enhance 5 deal 2 damage instead. So I like this one. Like, I think me and you have both talked about how we think Angelic Barrage isn't a bad card. It just doesn't do enough. This is an Angelic Barrage that lets you do more stuff with it because you can enhance it.
yeah, the only problem is that this was printed for Dragon, and this is clearly trying to replace Dragon Breath of the Salamander. And we all know what happens when you try to print a card that is not as strong as the previous one. We saw Reach of the Archdemon, it saw barely any play at all. We saw Curse Brand, it saw some play, but it was just not as impactful. And when we play this card, we'll be like, I miss Breath of the Salamander. And in the limited, this will not be played at all. So this is meant for rotation. And when I think about rotation nowadays, I don't think 2 damage is impactful at all. Even Breath of the Salamander, it killed like a 5 play point, a 5 health follower when you enhance it. This does not do that. So I'm on the fences with this one.
So, you did say that this is used as like a replacement for Breath of the Salamander, and I don't know if that's entirely fair to say because they also did. We'll get to this card in a second, but they did announce another Dragoncraft follower that puts a deal 3 damage into your hand, or a deal 2 damage to your hand, one of those
I was
two.
also
And
unfair. This does deal 2 damage to the leaders, so it's not the same thing. But yeah,
yeah, so I think like the combination of those two cards might be able to make up for the lack of Breath of the Salamander, but I'm not entirely sure. And I'm not trying to say Force of the Dragon it's like incredible, but I also want to believe that there's like some kind of Force of the Dragon Dragon Rend Quake deck out there.
there's also the possibility of having a more aggressive dragon deck, and this could help the reach effect. This could kill a ward follower and allow you to push for extra face damage. Uh, this
Without trading with your followers on
exactly, and
board.
deals 2 damage could be relevant. I mean, we all had times where we needed the 2 extra damage when we were playing aggro dragon. That's actually a popular deck nowadays. I'm playing a bit with it, and you do feel those 2 extra damage being relevant. We were playing Prime Dragon Keeper just for the ping damage, so this might be relevant. Also, it's a 5 play point. You can combine it with other cards rather than Breath of the Salamander. You can combine it with your Sybil, for instance, or with your the new card. What's the name? Sorry, you gotta help me with that one. Galush.
Galua of two
Galua. You
flames
can
of two
exactly. You
breaths.
can combine Galua with this card. So I was unfair when I said it was Breath of the Salamander because I'm imagining Dragon still being the control deck, but we might see some archetypes, and if this does it, then I'm I'm glad it did. It did.
Well, I got a question for you. How often have you played Dragon, been on turn 5, and been like, wow, I really wish I could cast my Breath of the Salamander this turn?
That's completely fair. That happens a lot. Yeah, it happened a lot. I've lost tournaments because I can do that. So that is quite relevant. In 20% of your games, it is quite relevant. Although, like, we're being unfair when we evaluate this by itself. We don't have no idea what the card collection is going to be. We also have no idea what the meta is going to be. We are basing our opinions based on the current meta, and I'm very
Hmm.
traumatized, I guess, for so many Darias. And when I saw this card, I wasn't excited because all the Darias were punishing me, and just doesn't do enough against that. So
So I want to talk about this next one. Um, we had already hinted at it just a little bit. This next one's called Dragon Slayer Roy, and Dragon Slayer Roy is a gold Dragoncraft follower, 3 play point 2/2, and it's got choose add either a Life Dragon Sword or a Death Dragon Sword into your hand. And now the Life Dragon Sword is 2 play point spell, gain an empty play point orb, so it's like a Dragon Oracle without the overflow effect.
uh,
And Death Dragon Sword is 2 play point, deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. deals 6 damage instead if the enemy follower is a Dragoncraft follower.
Quick disclaimer: the names are not officially obviously, as you can see. These are revealed in magazines. They have not been translated officially yet, so don't get like it's a quirky name: Dragon Life Sword, Dragon Death Sword. But yeah, but go ahead. Sorry, I just had to because I was laughing
Um,
about it inside.
I didn't realize that that the Death Dragon sword has deal 6 damage instead if the enemy follower is a Dragoncraft follower. That's some fun trinket text, I think is what they call that. When it's text that affects the game but doesn't like affect it on a major scale and it's more for flavor. I think they call trinket text.
No, definitely. Like this small soldier has this huge dragon behind it, and I just love to imagine that it does extra damage to dragons out of nowhere. Like it's almost as if his sword is also called Death Dragon Sword. So it's like a sword that specializes in killing dragons, and yeah, it's nice flavor. I like it.
I think that's really cool too because it makes that 3 damage much more relevant in the Dragon Mirror, whereas 3 damage normally is like pretty dead in the Dragon Mirror.
It also, again, options like sometimes or Ayala's. This reminds us of Ayala. This is I don't like to say this word a lot, but this is very well done. Congratulations, Sci Games. I am harsh with you sometimes when I think I need to, but I'm also humble enough to congratulate you when you do something right. We all knew Ayala was very powerful. We all knew Ayala needed to be different. This is a perfect way to make Ayala. I'm so excited to see a card like this. This makes Ayala. This is weaker than Ayala, but stronger at the same time, which is something
I
weird, right? But yeah,
I I think this card, like compared to the other two Ayelas that are already out there, I think this one might be stronger than those two, because the 2 mana Ayala is really good at like ramping you fast if you have Evos to spare. The 3 play point Ayala is the best when it comes to like saving you Evos. This one is slower than the other two, but how often have you played the 3 play point Ayala on turn 5 and past? Like that's something that's happened. And this allows you to choose to get either the ramp or the removal
late game.
instead of.
Ayala late game was
Mhm.
awful. Ayala was one of those cards that if you got Ayala on the first 3 turns, you'd be good to go. Like your win rate would exponentially rise. But if you get Ayala on the top deck, I bet the win rate exponentially lowered. So this is just uh, more options, more flexibility. Like this is a very good way to balance Ayala because ramping for 3 play points should not be an option. I mean, we all know how Dragon Oracle has a big impact on the meta and on the deck, but we need effects like this. We need balanced ways to ramp your deck to late the late game. Like we don't want to see consistent Dragon players having 10 play points at turn 6. We don't want to see that. We got the Ayala that needs to be evolved that lessens the ramp effect because you need to wait till turn 4. We have the Sybil, you need to wait to turn 5. This could also be a Sybil on the play, right? You can play this and the Dragon Oracle kinda on the same turn on turn 5, which is interesting.
Flanders Scarlet in chat is saying this is awfully slow and you have to spend mana to cast the thing again, and then you don't get the mana gain on 4 since you have to spend mana for it. But with the 3 play point Ayala, the one that had last words that needed to die, how often were you getting that before turn 4 anyway? You were often the one who had to pop it yourself because most of the time your opponent wouldn't want to pop it for you, and sometimes they wouldn't even give you a way to pop it, or sometimes your opponent was Haven, they'd banish it and you couldn't even get the play points.
And against aggro decks, the old Ayala was not relevant. This one can be more relevant because against aggro decks, you don't care about ramping too hard. You just care about surviving until you play your civils. So the deal 2 play point deal 3 is very good. We don't forget you're gonna lose Breath of the Salamander, so you do need some removal options if you want to play the ramp dragon deck.
All right. And I think Dragon Slayer Roy was the last of the dragon cards, right?
Think so. Yes.
I believe so as well. So I'm trying to see what have we
We
missed.
are missing one Haven card, I believe, and 2 portal cards.
And there's also a shadow card.
Yes. Oh, we can talk about the shadow card. That's kind of cute.
The shadow card's pretty neat. I think that one's neat. Let's do that one. So this next card is called Playful Soul. This is a one play point 1/1, and then it's got Necromancy 3, Summon a Ghost. Real simple card.
I, I'm I I I kind of like these cards like these because okay, sometimes we gotta look at to a set, right, an expansion, and some cards just don't see viability immediately, but this card is very interesting. It allows you. It's a one play point follower, which we were lacking a lot. We last expansion we barely saw anything at all except Goblin. This is just a good option. I saw people mentioning that this allows Atomy turns, so it's interesting in the limited. It's also interesting in rotation. Allows you to play an aggro deck possibly. This is a quite easily like a one play point deal one damage, which is quite good when you think about it. So I like it. It's interesting.
I think it's nice that there's just more one mana, one play point, just followers right now. There really aren't too many of those. This card kind of reminds me of Bullfang Swordsman, just because Bullfang Swordsman's also a one play point 1/1, and you can spend three play points rather than three shadows to give it Bane. So the effect was arguably more expensive, arguably less expensive, but they were both one drops that let you do a little bit more with them in the late game.
Yeah, this reminds me of Princess Vanguard, where you would get your quick blader out and you would storm face. Because this, you have to assume this is not gonna be played on turn one. But sometimes you play your merman, right? If you're playing an aggressive deck, sometimes you just throw away your one play point 1/1 just to get that extra damage. But I don't think this is gonna be seen in mid range shadow at all. Just because costing 3 shadows is very impactful when you have effects like Soul Squasher, which are much more valuable, of course. We need to see more cards. I'm gonna be on the fence on this one. I need to see more cards pushing aggro shadow before I mention this one, or something that if we had I forgot the name of the card. I couldn't forget the name of the card. The one play point draw card, the one play point spell that draws cards.
Insight?
No, the shadow one. You sacrifice a follower. Oh,
Soul
soul
Conversion.
conversion. I did I forget about that one. Yeah, I need to see effects like that where the ghost actually matters because at the moment there's not a lot of stuff. You can necro assassin it, you can demon eater it, but I need to see more effects like that.
You can. What's the name of that one drop that turns it into a 2/2 zombie?
Oh,
The new
yeah,
bad soul
yeah.
conversion. Grave
Grave
Invitation.
desecration,
Grave
invitation.
Invitation.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I want to be Grave Invitationing that spirit, but
It's a lot of
I'm
setup just for the 2/2.
I'm happy to see some more one drops. This one doesn't seem too crazy. I want to see what it does. I'm curious about it. Um, so why don't you pick the next one? I picked quite a bit of
We
these
went for the
already.
one-offs, so I guess it's natural that we go for the one-off Aven. This I gotta start out by saying this is probably the least exciting card out of all the ones that we're talking about today. Why don't you go ahead and tell us what it does? Because I see a lot of Japanese text.
So this one is called Wings of Rebellion. It's a silver Havencraft amulet. It's cost 4 play points. It's got countdown 2, and then when you play it, you choose either white angelic bird or black demonic bird. So you choose which one it's going to pop into. And then last words, if you have 3 or less cards in your hand, add a Wings of Rebellion to your hand. So on its face, this is a 2 play point amulet that can keep adding itself back to your hand. And then what the two birds do, depending on which one you pick. So white angelic bird, after 2 turns, will pop and then become a 4/3 with at the end of your turn restore 4 defense to your to this allied follower. And then the blackbird is a 2/3 with storm.
Yeah. Okay. So real quick, remember when I said that choices, flexibility is really cool? There's a wrong way to do it as well. When you make one of the options good and the other option not so good. So I have two problems with this card. First of all, it's not exciting. We have cards like this. It's called Octobishop. It's called Winged Sentinel or whatever the name is, and Divine Bird Song. Like this effect is like it costs 4 play points. It has a 2 countdown, so you'll see this card popping up on turn 6 at least. So at turn 6, you're gonna get a 2/3 storm. or you're going to get a 4-3 that heals itself, or basically you can evolve it into a 6-5 that heals itself and becomes a 6-5. But 6-5 on turn 6 is not that relevant when your game plan needs to be establishing a threat, wanting to like tribunal or play something relevant. It's not. I'm not gonna be too harsh on it, but I'm very disappointed with this card.
This card costs one play point more than Divine Birdsong does, and you get a -1/-1 bird just at the cost of flexibility, and the other option sucks too. So
Yeah, I see. This is a. I'm not gonna be. I don't want to be unfair, but this is what we call traps when you're deck building a deck. I see the chat. Someone mentioned that the recur effect. That is one of the traps that can prey on a lot of players. When you see a card that has a recurring effect, if the impact is 5 or 6 turns later, that's not really a recurring effect. Like a good recurring effect example is when you get, for instance, Phoenix. Phoenix is you can play Phoenixes on the same turn. You can play a
then you get immediate
immediate
impact
impact.
with your star.
This one, first, it needs to be popped. Second of all, when he pops, he goes back to your hand, and it's a countdown effect. So that recurrent effect is, let's be honest, it's not gonna have that big of an impact, I believe.
Actually, Zero Fan brings up a good point in chat where he's saying that if you play it with a Heresy's avatar, so you can just like if you have an Heresy's avatar that's already popped, so you can just go
Oh,
Black Demonic Bird, Black
infinite.
Demonic Bird. Yeah, that's
It
pretty
does
cool.
require a lot of setup though, but we might see a meta that switches to combo. I'm excited to see some combo back in the meta because it was quite underwhelming, right? Do you remember any combo deck outside of like Elephant, which is it wasn't like a combo deck per se, but do
In,
you remind
in this one,
in
in this
this
meta,
meta? Yeah,
there
do
was
you remember
Queen,
any combo decks outside of Elephant?
there was Queen, there was Ginger.
Yeah, yeah. Even though like neutral does not feel like a combo deck, even though like Ginger doesn't feel like a combo deck to me. But yeah, you're right. So like if we see combos like that, Heresy or Jormungand coming back, I want to see that. I just want to see new things, new archetypes.
I think it's possible that Wing of Rebellion can find a home somewhere, like maybe it's like a 1-0 just because it's recurring value that you just don't run out of. But I don't know. I'm
Is the
skeptical.
summon immediate? Can you check that one out, Cizero? What do you mean?
It's an amulet with countdown too, so you don't get the summon
It
until
pops, yeah.
it pops, I
And I
believe.
believe you get the extra card when it pops, right? Can you clarify that one? Or do you get it immediately?
It's got last words if you have
Exactly.
3 or
Okay.
less cards in your hand, add a Wings of Rebellion to your hand. So wait, countdown to choose summon. You know the summon might actually be
Oh, I
immediate.
see.
Hold
Because
on.
it doesn't say last word summon. Okay. You're right. You're right then.
Okay, so if the
Oh,
summon's
okay.
immediate, this is
Okay.
actually better than I thought.
Oh, so it's basically like it's like it feels like an Octo Bishop, or it's a 4 play 0.23 Storm, I guess. Okay, that definitely
But
changes. Yeah,
you have flexibility
that
though.
changes. Yeah. That okay. So
Okay,
if the summon
if
is
you can
immediate.
if the summon's immediate, this thing's pretty good, I think.
Well, I wouldn't say pretty good, but it does increase the
I,
value. But I'm still not sure about it. I don't want to know. I don't know if you want to play the Octo Bishop that often, but the 2/3 is the one that I'm interested about.
would you play Octo Bishop if it could occasionally close out a game?
Probably. Like, what do you like closing a game? Like being a 2/3. How often is that gonna close a game?
Well, if you have that amulet on the field, it's a 3/3,
True,
right?
that's true. Also, the fact that it heals itself. I mean, I saw some Octobishops being played with Summit Temple, so this might be an option for it. Because
I
you do lack, there's no Aria, you do lack storm damage when you play the pure Temple Heavenly Knight deck.
I can see a world where this card gets the job done. I'm not sure if that's the one we live in, but it might be.
Oh yeah, I thought this card was awful because I thought it was countdown summon. That now I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was
I
awful.
also thought you got the bird a few turns later. So
Also, there's another
then there,
downside though. Like having a countdown too for that effect is very weak. You're flooding your board for stuff that's not impactful. That's not a tribunal. It's
Yeah,
very weak actually.
but it's only countdown 2, and for something like what's the name? Is it Star Chaser Sprite? It's like a 4 play point
3/3
3/3
draws cards for if you have amulets.
for yeah, for something like that, it makes it a little bit better. I'm sure there I don't want to say I'm sure, but I'm pretty sure there are a couple cards that just reward you for randomly having amulets on the field. Now, I'm most interested by having the Heresy's Avatar. That's pretty cool
You
with
can
that.
start chaining them up. No, actually, they cost 4 play points though. Ugh, very expensive. But
Oh yeah, no, it's 8 mana for getting it's 8 play points for getting 2/2/3 storms. But it's not bad. It's not like when both players are running out of gas, that's not bad. It puts a good clock on
yeah,
on
you
your
can
opponent.
grind your opponent. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so then I think there are only two cards left that we have not talked about. So first is going to be Rocket Punch. So I like the name of this one. It's a Portal Craft card, 2 play point Portal Craft spell. Deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. But wait, there's more. If there is any artifact cards in your hand, randomly discard one and then deal 6 damage instead.
That's the part I don't like about the card. Like, why? If it was deal 3 damage for 2 play points and get a positive effect, then I'd be excited. I don't see discarding an artifact. I don't know why side games keeps printing cards like this. I don't see discarding a card for an extra effect being worth it at all. I think it's a negative downside, but I could be wrong.
I think we might start seeing more and more ways to just like flood your hand with artifacts. I feel like that might be the direction Portalcraft might be going because there are already a couple of these if you discard an artifact card. But right now there's no real ways to get those artifacts that you're willing to
Yeah,
discard.
I need to see either more Akrabis. For those of you that don't know, Akrabi can give you 2 artifacts to your hand. Add 2 artifacts to your hand. I need to see more cards like that. Cards that add
Or hand
2 extra artifacts, so I can actually discard one and not be minus a card. Like, because that's the problem. You gaining extra value by losing a card, so you're not even gaining extra value because you're spending a card to get an extra effect. So you basically tied or even -1. Because again, this is not an option. Give me the option of choosing to discard or not. Being imposed the condition to discard an artifact. Imagine there's this pesky little follower that you need to kill on curve. There's this.
it's just got
It's
one
just
HP.
got 1 HP, and you're spending 2 cards to kill it. Imagine there's I don't know what's an annoying follower that you must kill. Oh, Mars. Imagine there's a Mars on the field, right? We gotta kill it, but you discarding an artifact for it because it's not an option. I don't like that. Just give me an option.
Yeah, this card would have really benefited nicely from having the choose
Exactly.
effect.
Choose discard an artifact, deal 6 or deal 3. Just it makes it so much better than what it is.
What I do want to point out though is so far a lot of the cards that give you the discard something for benefit effect, they all seem to me like they're better at going later in the game. Like there's Geno, and he's an art Geno Artificer or something, and he's a 2 play point 2/2, and he reduces the damage you take from your next hit by 3. And then there's the
Nilpotent.
nilpotent entity, and that slows the game down quite a bit. And now this is a 2 play point spell that can remove something really big.
They're definitely pushing that. It feels like they're very scared to give you this infinite value sources, right? Because when you think about it, artifacts, oh, they can be an not infinite, but in terms of card games, semi-infinite value. Because you can put so many artifacts in your deck, so they're reluctant. They're afraid of giving you good effects that synergize with the artifacts because they think that when they think about designing it, they're like, we're already giving you good tokens. These are very good tokens. We don't want to give you extra strong effects with those tokens, which to me is dragging Portal down. Portal had so much potential, but this kind of quirky mechanic of discarding your artifacts requires so much setup. You're already putting artifacts in your deck. You're already drawing them. Are already discarding them. Those three effects are very conditional, especially when you gotta chain them up. So I don't know.
Well, we'll have to see about this one. I think like it is possible with Deus Ex for you to have enough artifacts that you can just kind of throw them away and not care. But I don't know if the tools are there to make that deck work quite
Also,
yet.
the effect is not good enough. I feel. Like dealing 6 instead of 3. When was that relevant? Because we're not talking about like
For killing
we're
Sybil
not talking about like
or
deal 10 damage, right? There's because this class has Dimension Cut. Dimension Cut is 2 play points, deal 4. How many times would you play that instead of this one? I feel Dimension Cut is
well,
stronger. I feel.
anything with 5 HP, and there's quite a bit of things with 5 HP. Like I don't think the damage is that negligible. I think the damage will matter. I just don't think it'll always matter. Is the thing.
Also, you can't choose. Imagine you have two artifacts, right? It's you cannot choose which one you discard. That's something I'm
And
also pushing. Side games, if you listen to us, allow me to discard what I want to discard. Please, please just do that.
yet discard is almost always random, which is really strange because that's something discarding is like really important because if you
Yeah,
discard your condition, that's
right.
like wow, I just
It's
game.
almost as if we're like, we made this really cool mechanic, but we don't want you to play with it. No, 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 don't play with this card. No, 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 no. We had all this trouble. We had meetings. I imagine Cygames employees have meetings where they discuss this. Okay, guys, let's do this really cool mechanic. Let's add this extra option, but let's not make our players want to play it.
All right. Yeah, so the discard mechanic a little interesting. I find it funny that it got the discard mechanic got moved from Dragon over to Portal.
Yeah, and it wasn't played in Dragon, and now it's not played in Portal. I don't know.
Yet.
Yet.
Maybe we'll
Yet.
get there. I find what I find really weird about Rocket Punch, right? So Rocket Punch deals 3 extra damage. At that point, it's kind of like, why did I not just play the 3/1 rush artifact?
And the 3 rush. Okay, another thing. Make this card count for Saphira. Like, I hate my Deus Ex sometimes that discards all my artifacts and then my Saphiras are so small. Like, at least if you're discarding an artifact, well, not Deus Ex, because that would be overpowered, but
Yeah, that's
at least
super
if
fast.
I'm discarding my artifact, allow me to count for Saphira. Because, like you mentioned, why wouldn't you play the 3/1 rush instead, right? It counts for Saphira.
The 3/1 rush is probably refunding mana because I have an acceleration on the field
Yeah.
or I have like the Deus Ex active. I don't know. It's confusing. It's weird.
It also has
But
Spinaria combos and synergies.
mhm. So now I think this is the last card. I'm gonna double check to make sure,
Hmm.
but this last one I believe is Dirk Steel Arm Battler, also a Portal Craft card. 5 play point 5/3. Rush. Fanfare. Put a random artifact card that costs at least 3 play points into your hand. So first thing I want to say, Aka, we did it. We have another Geno in Portal.
This is I would say the Liga Geno, but that's a different game. So I'd say this is the Genoverse. This is becoming more and more the Genoverse. Actually, isn't Geno rotating? I think so.
Mm, I think
What do you
so.
feel about that? We can talk about that next week.
There are so many Genos in the game. It'll be like you never left.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this real quick. It doesn't have choice. It doesn't have the choice mechanic. I abstain for talking about this card. I'm not excited until I see a Portal Craft with the choice mechanic. Then I'll be like, now we're
Wait,
talking about. Now we're talking.
but most Portal cards do put random artifacts into your hand as is.
No, I mean it doesn't have the choice mechanic, choose mechanic.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see what you mean. I
I
get you. I
want to
get
see
you.
the choose
Yeah.
mechanic for Portal Crafts.
Oh yeah, those have to be some interesting
Mhm.
cards. I didn't even think about
Because
that. We might have
it's like
some.
choose like what? Can you choose which artifact you draw? Yes, please. I want to do that.
Oh, what if there are like some limited edition artifacts you can only get from choosing them?
Ooh,
Like kind of like Spinaria's
ooh,
artifact.
that's interesting. What about puppets? Where is that leading? What kind of
Yeah, legendary
Like,
puppet makers.
where is that archetype
What if
going? Like, we have nothing for puppets. We had no legendaries, no gold cards for puppets. I think Noah is silver. That Noah is the win condition, and it's silver. Like, we had no support for puppets, so I want to see that.
what if we get puppet artifacts?
Oh,
They're like both.
hybrid. Oh, that would be so cool. Side games, please. Next expansion, hybrids.
So I'm pretty excited for that. I'm pretty excited for this whole expansion as a whole, to be
What
completely
about
honest.
what do you think about Mr. Dirk? I mean, I'm not excited for Mr. Dirk, but you were telling me on the pre-show that you like this one.
I was telling you that I like this
Well,
one. Who
I
told
mean,
you that? I like
no, no,
I
sorry.
like
That you like that it had rush because you didn't realize it had rush.
oh yeah, the first time I read this card I didn't realize he had rush and like rush is nice. That basically makes him Gino. That's why I like this card. Um
Oh, the problem.
I the thing is I think when Gino goes from 4 play points to 5 play points, like Gino at 4 can't always trade into something and live. So Gino on 5 will be able to trade into it and live even less is the issue that I have with Dirk. I think he really needed 4 HP or 5 HP.
This I told you this on the pre-show. This will not survive because this is the Evo turns. If you are on the play, your opponent has something evolved, so you're not gonna kill the 2 drop, their 2 drop or their 3 drop for free like Gino did. When you had Gino on the
I,
play, also Gino on 6 is relevant. This after 5 is ugh.
I don't think this is bad in arena though, because it you play it,
Oh,
it refunds itself, gives you a card, it kills something pretty strong.
Rush is probably the most valuable mechanic in Arena. Maybe card draw is the most valuable one, but outside of that, Rush is very strong.
It's kind of like this is kind of a stretch, but like kind of like Otherworldly Rift because you use that card to remove something usually, and 5 attack will remove a
What
lot
I
of
like,
things.
that's a good point. Rift is stronger though, right? Because
But
it.
Rift doesn't get to leave a body on board. You can't just play Rift.
I'm imagining again. This will not leave a body. That's my thing. I don't know.
Well, like say it's a empty board, right? Now this situation doesn't always happen, or it's an empty board, or it's like kind of an
Uh,
underwhelming board. Like there's a one, like a
I
goblin, or
have
there's a two.
an idea. Just make it a
Mhm.
3-5, right? It would be a lot more interesting if he was a 3-5 with Rush, kind of like
Yeah,
Roof.
but he wouldn't be Gino if he was like that.
It would be stronger. It would be the 5 play point Geno. It would be the upgrade. This is not an upgrade.
I,
This is a downgrade. Tell me, if you were designing a 5 play point Geno, like okay, next expansion they will release Geno because they rotated, right? So
mhm.
there's gonna be a 5 play point Geno. What does it look like?
5 play point Gino, 5/4 enhance at 7, summon 2 Genos on death rattle.
Exactly. See, much better than this 5-3 Stellar Battler Geno. It doesn't even seem to be ready. Get your weapons ready, Youngland.
My Gino is absolutely
The
nuts. Just Gino summons more
the Geno level
Genos.
of this card is 0 out of 10. Actually, if we do a review, we should evaluate all the cards in Geno levels.
I am seriously considering, and chat, let me know if you guys would actually read this. I want to write an article that is literally like completely as a joke, not
I
like a
want to do
serious
that. I
article,
want to see
where I
that.
just compile every single Geno
I
card
want
in
to
the
see
game
that.
and just write my opinions on it. You want
I
to see
want to
that? All right,
see.
this is something I
Okay,
can
I
make
want to
happen.
see a guide with a narrator, and narrator is Geno, and is evaluating the card in Geno levels. Call it Geno stars or Geno whatever. Just Geno levels.
Geno
This
out
is
of
a
5
Geno out of 5. This is a 5 Genos out of 10.
instead of stars. I can just give like
He
little
teaches
Geno
them how to
heads.
be a better Geno. It's like, Youngling, you gotta do this to be a Geno. To be a real Geno.
All right, so I think I can make this article happen. It'd be more of I think satire is the right word for that, right?
We need that
It's
though.
like
Like we see all these tier lists, all these tryhard guides. I think community would love to see it's a fresh air of something fun to read. It'll be giggle. We would giggle. We like that.
throw in some customs that are stupid.
Oh,
Flanders, there is actually a custom spot on our Discord where people can come and post their own custom cards,
make your own
and
Geno.
Yeah, we were actually trying to make it a thing where we talk about some of the custom cards that were submitted to us in there, but you guys kind of stopped doing that, so we can't do that
Which
anymore.
is sad. The moment we said that, they stopped doing it. I'm like, I feel bad. Maybe because we shouted it out, they stopped doing it. I don't know. Geneva conventions. Yeah, just we can do that. We can do that. We can do some Geno guides.
I'm probably going
I
to
want you to do that.
jump on writing this Geno article probably as soon as this is
I
done,
want you to do that.
because this has been something I've been talking about for a bit now. Like there are so many Genos. There's literally Geno. There's Geno in Portal that actually doesn't have Rush. It's one of the few Genos in the game that doesn't have Rush.
There's Latham, probably the one Geno out of 10. Probably the worst Geno, Latham.
Uh, yeah, Latham's a pretty sad Geno. He needs an evolve to be a Geno.
Floral Fencer is probably the mother of Geno, or maybe the yeah. Latham and Floral Fencer are the parents of Geno, because when they say new generations will be stronger and smarter than their parents, Geno is smarter and stronger.
Barbarossa is the biggest, baddest Geno.
Is the grandfather? Is the grandfather the god of all?
Gruff is neutral Geno. Gruff makes me kind of sad because Gruff is a 3/5. He's one of the few Genos that has less attack than HP.
But he survives though. Is a
Hmm.
resilient Geno? Is the resilient Geno with a big smile?
All right, so I think I got an article I need to start writing now. I think we talked about a lot of the stuff we want to talk about, right,
Yeah,
Aka? Can you think of any?
nothing else.
This is a fun episode.
So again, very excited. Choose mechanic choice. Give me more cards like games. Come on, I just want to see choose. I want to get to read all these tokens, all these extra cards. All my hands are gonna be filled. Zero Fine mentioned something really important. Your opponent does not know which one you choose. That's high games. If you're listening to us, don't do that. Allow our opponents to see what we pick so we can play around it, okay? So please do that. Thank you. Also, again, I'm gonna ask you this every single time. Show us what our opponent discarded. Please show me what they milled. I just want to see that. I want to see you gonna use this a moment to shout out, I guess, I want to see in-game tournament announced in the side the client. I just want to see that. There's a petition going. Go ahead, ask your parents, your dog, your cats, your siblings to sign that one up.
I'm gonna link that in the Twitch chat. I'm also linking the Discord if you guys are not part of the Discord, and mine and Akamaru, or the HSK Twitter and the Akamaru's Twitter
Oh,
as well.
thanks. And yeah, follow us on Twitter. Ask us question. Go to the custom card on our Discord. Show us your Genos, your best Geno impressions. We'll talk about them. I'm sure of it. And I think that's it. Yeah, in-game client
Um,
tournaments for me. I mean,
New
and I think that's it.
New York. If any of you guys, any of you listeners live in New York, there is a New York event this weekend being held by HSK in a place called Evo Gaming in Flushing Main Street. Come to that. It's at 1 o'clock on
And
Sunday. If you guys are
there's a
able to.
sweet prize for that one. Do you have it with you or not?
Um, I have it with me. I'd have to go and get it, which is probably more
It's
trouble than
fine.
it's worth.
Just
That
tell us
prize,
what it is.
I've actually, yeah, it's a nice trophy. It's a really nice looking trophy. I've come to the decision that that trophy is going to work. I'm gonna try to make this the New York Gathering like a monthly thing if possible, and that prize will not be given out until we have at least 36 people to come to the first one.
Which is really it's gonna be so exciting. It's basically more players than World Grand Prix. We had 24 players on a LAN event. That might be the first ever, outside of Rage, of course, but the first ever Western big LAN event. I'm excited for that. I want to go there too,
I like
but I just don't have the time. Maybe if it's a monthly thing, maybe on summer I'll get to it. So excited.
that. That'd be awesome. Flanders says in chat, Scarecrow is the Geno that didn't get
Oh,
Rush. I like that one. That's
we
true.
can't attack the leader though. Like I feel Gino would be able to is manly enough to attack leaders, to attack small innocent Vanias.
Yeah, he's like underdeveloped Geno.
Get
He's only a 2 drop. He doesn't even have bones. He's just a Scarecrow. It's not his fault. All right, and last thing, PAX is coming up next month. If you guys are interested in going to PAX and want to meet some Shadowverse people and also want to meet some HSK people, there's going to be Shadowverse stuff there. Go do that. And that's all I got.
And with that,
Shout out to all our listeners.
bang bang. Goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys.